Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Zack Olinger. In this podcast series, I talk about relationships. Now, I know, as a man, you may not want to talk about relationships, or you may even tell me that the relationship that you're in is already pretty good. But I'm going to invite you to consider this. Could you be a little bit more fulfilled in the relationship that you have? I would like to have you consider that there may be other ways to kind of see the conflicts that are truly just unnecessary that we all experience in a different light. And if you're open to receiving or just giving me a little bit of your time, then I look forward to my guests and I inspiring you to become a man that can have more freedom, less conflict, and more pleasure in their relationships. Thanks for joining me.
Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me on the Real Zack Olinger. Today, I've got Mac, and he's we're just gonna have a free flowing conversation and see where this leads us, and talk about relationships. So, Mac, I guess I'm not sure where we want to start, but whatever you feel like comfortable talking about or sharing with us, we'd be grateful. So
I'm comfortable with it all, brother. Comfortable with it all.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate you being on. So I guess the first thing that kind of comes to my mind is I know that you and I have spoken before, and is it 3 or 4 marriages you've been in now? Like
I've been married once. I'm in the middle of a divorce now, actually, but I've had 3 really serious relationships, long-lasting relationships that it never really went wrong. And the partner that I'm with now is what I regard as my soulmate. Again, we're kind of, if I look at the relationships that I had with what I know now, at almost 50 in August. I know I don't look it, I'm only 30.
You're looking good, man.
When I look at my relationships now, with what I know now, I kind of ponder and ask myself, would I even have got into those relationships in the first place? Do you know?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're just all walking tape recorders, and we'll learn everything. We're lessons by our parents, by our friends, by movies, relationships, music, right. Everything's just a relationship with people, with yourself. And that's when I look at that, and I look at how I've kind of behaved in relationships, certainly as a young man, and I mentioned this to you the other day, the 4 in the bed. You've got your head, your heart, and for us guys, we're often either think with a big head or
right, the little one, right?
Which inevitably leads into all manners of trouble. But my biggest thing is with my parents. Now, my parents, I mean, I'm blessed to still have them on the planet with me. They've been married over 60 years.
Wow.
They're both in their late 70s. Very, very jealous. But somehow they made it work. And I don't know if it's just by the lessons that they learned from kind of their parents, as you know, that's kind of what we do. But that's what I always seen that in it was a case of, well, I don't do this because I wouldn't like it done. So that's what my dad used to always tell me, don't do unto others like what you wouldn't like done to yourself. So I used to take it as a kind of a security blanket. And then when I started with like girlfriends myself and getting into relationships, there was that element of the jealousy where it was flattering. It was quite nice. But as you know, the green-eyed monster, it grows out of control, and you start getting in your own head and thinking mad things. And hand on heart, if I think deeply enough, I would pretty much say 90% of the things that have went wrong or arguments that's been created have been by my hang-ups. So when you've got 2 people in a relationship with the same kind of crap, do you know what I mean? Inevitably, an argument starts because your partner might do something that triggers you. that you don't like, and even though them don't think it's wrong, especially when you are both together at first. I mean, you generally get to meet somebody, and it's a physical attraction. You know, you're physically attracted to a certain type of person, and you don't really know that person. It's just that animalistic physical lust, and you know, and you go with it, and then we kind of wonder why things go wrong 6 months in. You know, it's a minefield.
Right. Right. It's very true. So I guess one of the things I'm curious about too is you know, as you've kind of like, as we all grow, as we get older, right, we all learn like new lessons and things like that. So what's been one of the bigger things that's kind of come into your awareness, like either about yourself or like kind of shifted or for you, or something new that you've taken into like, you know, new relationships that you know, that kind of smooth that out or kind of like round that out for you, you know what I mean? Yeah.
What I've learned is, my belief now, especially of all the things that's kind of happened in the past, I think the biggest attribute you can have, the biggest tool you can use, is to love yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to know yourself. You've got to know and love yourself. You've got to know what you want, what you like. Be at peace and comfortable with yourself, because if you're not that way, how can you then give to somebody else?
Right.
And that's the position I'm at now. I mean, for years you search for this, and you search for the perfect relationship, or you search for this type person or this type body, and it's nothing about that. It's all to do with yourself, and that's where I'm at now. I'm at peace with myself. I just live to be happy. That's it in a nutshell. I just want to wake up, smile that I've made it through another day. I've got another bite of the cherry, and that's it. Be happy with myself, love myself first, and because I'm comfortable with that, then I can give out.
I love it. Yeah. It reminds me of the analogy of like, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So you've got to fill yourself up. So yeah, I love it. Yeah, definitely can relate to that. I think a lot of us can. Whereas if we've got the inner turmoil or conflict, or, you know, just this, like, I would say just kind of like you said, you got to know what you want. You got to know like what's true for you. And if you're just kind of, if you definitely don't have that own awareness about yourself, then it's really hard to go into another relationship with another person and have that not rear its head and cause trouble for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think, I mean, if you do, how many people actually know themselves? If you actually get quiet with it and sit and think, well, what bothers us, and why does it bother us?
Mm-hmm.
And where did I get that from? It's kind of like, I kind of look at it as if you can imagine a long tunnel, and at the end of that tunnel, there's a motor vehicle in bits, all the parts to have a motor vehicle. And throughout that tunnel, you have some wheel technicians, you have some fabric technicians, you have some mechanics, you have some paint guys, all these people. So you're walking slowly through that tunnel, and you've got all these people telling you how to get this car at the end. By the time you get at the end of the tunnel, you might have a good go at building the car, but you're more than likely not going to be able to build the car.
Right.
But that's how we walk through life. You know, we'll learn these lessons, but we'll see one of our best friends go through a relationship, and you think, I don't want that. Or again, you learn your lessons from your mom and dad, or what you see on the telly, and we kind of do the best we can with the information that we've got
right
at the time, you know. And I mean, because of the journey that we've not long been on in September, I mean, I know yourself, you've done it longer than that. When you're not privy to this information, it's like, I mean, it's gold, because I've just never, in 49 years, I've just had no clue. And once you kind of know, you think, no bloody wonder. No wonder I've been doing the things I'm doing. How have I been asleep for so long?
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. The awareness is key, you know, and it's not labeling that we've done anything wrong or that we're stupid or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's not any of that kind of judgment. It's just about um, you know, choosing to just like, yeah, learn, just choosing to be open to like receiving the awareness. You know, I think that's really what it comes down to. I think it's a huge part because, and then doing that, just going through the process of becoming aware. I don't know how it's been for you, but I know that at least for a lot of people that I've spoken to, it's uncomfortable, you know, like, because it's like you start to
Yes.
learn stuff about yourself where you're like,
Oh,
ah, shit, like that's
Zach, I mean, sitting in the room I'm sitting in now, I remember going through that. Now I was sitting on the settee just right next to us. Yeah, I'm staring out the window, looking at the trees, and I started weeping. And I thought,
Mhm.
what the hell's going on? Yeah, what's these guys doing to us? I mean, I've in the jobs that I've done. I'm ex-army, and I've done some pretty. I've been in some scary, scary life situations, and this had us a mess. It had us an absolute mess. I've never experienced anything like it, and since I've come out, I've done this kind of a strange. It's like an experiment with myself because I purposely wanted to see how long it would be before the old Mac would try creeping back.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I started getting a kind of it was kind of worse than the first disintegration anxiety that I had, because now I was self-aware of what I should be doing. Whereas before, when I just got this disintegration anxiety, it was just like, whoa, what the hell is this? Why am I crying? Why am I staring at the trees and doing crazy stuff? But now, because I knew what I was meant to be doing, the disintegration anxiety was kind of worse, because it was the old me trying to get back, but the new me was kind of releasing, but not all the way, because I was scared, if you
Right.
like. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because I
Mhm.
thought, I don't want to lose that Mac, because it was such an awakening. I, but I wanted to see, for people, other people that kind of go through the same thing, if you step out of your content and just how quick you go back, and it's shocking. It's shocking how easy it is.
Yeah.
The temper comes back. This comes back. Whereas, I mean, I was walking around like Bonnie Langford. I don't know if you know her, but sitting grinning at people all day long. You know, people's eating and I'm smiling at them. Everything's fine, man. Everything's
Yeah. I can relate to that, the whole weeping part, and just like, yeah, having and being aware, it is a interesting experience to go through. And like, it's like an out of body experience where you see yourself like being able to, because you have a certain awareness, you know, but then like you can still see yourself making some choices where you're like, I know better. Like, it just reminds me of a story as a kid. This is one I particularly like, where um you know, my mom told me, and I remember actually doing this, like the turntables, right, like LPs and things like that. And
showing you his
and
jock.
yeah, right. And I was sitting there as a kid, and I was just scratching the needle across the record and just going, no, no, no. Like, I knew it was the wrong thing to do, but I'm scratching the shit out of this record anyway.
People saying LP.
Yeah.
LP.
So
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm curious, because like Lynn and I were talking about this yesterday too, and I've talked to this about some other people as far as relationships go. Like, so the partner that you're with now, like, how has it been with you going through like kind of your own self-development and like awareness? And your partner wasn't involved in any of TCP or any programs, is that correct?
Yeah. This is the things that I thought, I honest to God thought, as I was going through all this stuff, I thought, you've done this before. I had actually asked her, have you been a part of TCP before? Because she's a clever cookie, Katrina. She's honestly, she's the love of my life. But she's so, when this whole TCP thing happened after the BDO half training, the financial position that we're in at the time, I just thought, how can I go to Katrina and say, look, this is possibly going to cost what it was going to cost. Then when I got the actual email of what it was going to cost, and when I climbed out the hole that opened up in the floor and swallowed us up, she kind of looked at us. She says, what are you worried for? Just do it. Just do it. She says, yeah, work an extra shift, or, we'll get by. So she's just so mega supportive, and she's very, very clever. I mean, I've got friends that will come up with us and say, Mac, what have we tell you? Katrina says that 6 months ago. Listen to the woman, listen to her. But as you know, we seldomly listen to our partners, and then somebody like maybe you will say something, and I'll go and say, hey, Katrina, you never guess what Zach says. And she'll look, are you kidding? I've been telling you that for the last 6 months. And I'm sure a lot of we can relate to that.
I can definitely relate to that.
That's enough. And she'll just sit with a smirk on her face, and I'll look, and I'll try to scan me memory banks to think, has she mentioned this before? Which is generally the case. I put it down to the NLP stuff. I just say, oh, well, it's just me mind distorting.
Right.
I heard you, but just distorted it at that time.
Yeah. So as far as like how things is there like a compare and contrast between like how things like were between like you and Katrina before you started like choosing to like look at yourself and like go down that path, and then like where you're at now? Like I'm just kind of curious like how that's changed for you.
Not so much with Katrina. When I started with the kind of BDO half stuff, I had, from us being 4-year-olds, I've always had this kind of like a voice pop into my head saying, there's something you're meant to do. Now, as a young child, I was scared of my own shadow. I was very shy. There's no way as a teenager I would have been able to do something like this. I just didn't have the confidence. So it would have been about 2 years ago. I started getting interested in the whole world of the internet. I started looking at some of the things on the Facebook feed, Dan Locke, Gary V, people like that, and thinking, what's this about? There's got to be something in this. And because I always felt like there was something else I was supposed to be doing, and I had this and honestly, Zach, it used to scare us when I was a child, because I'd be sitting in the bathtub playing with me little soldiers and G.I. Joes and stuff, and then this voice would and it was like an actual voice saying, there's something you're supposed to do. And it was a kind of who the hell said that? And I was, Mom. It used to actually scare us. And so all through my life, I've kind of had that. So I started doing things for myself, and then I started helping people. Instead of chasing money, chase what makes you happy, chase your dreams. And then I launched the stuff that I kind of do. And then I've come across Jim. And that's kind of why I've done it. Now, with regards to me and Katrina, there's a lot of guys, if I was to bring some people that I work with now, I was actually known as the Beata Fiat, right? When I was on the doors, I was known as the Uncuddled. So all the doorman guys were standing there, and the girls would come up and cuddle them. They'd come to me and look and go, poof. in a way, they're just... So, but with Katrina, it wasn't like that. A contrasting relationship from Katrina to a previous one, and this kind of comes out to crimes of passion, I suppose. I was in a relationship for about 6 years with a partner, and in my mind, everything was going absolutely fantastic. And then one day a phone rings, and it's some guy, and she ups and goes. I mean, we have our own house, good jobs, a nice car, and then the next minute your world's flipped upside down, and she's having an affair. So because you do that, where you can't kind of believe it's happening, and you're still grasping onto what you've had, holding on. And It ended up where she was driving us to work one day, and we had such a blazing row. I had two, my sons, me 29, 28-year-old was about 6-year-old then, 5 and 6. And it was my son had come up to us and says, one day, he says, Dad, why does everybody I love leave us? And it absolutely destroyed us, absolutely destroyed us. And on the way to work, in that moment, my kids weren't in the car then. This was just something I was says this the night before. In that moment, it flipped from my pain to you're hurting me kids, you're hurting the boys, and I pulled the handbrake on in rage, and I mean the car went spinning on the motorway, and I actually found myself sitting in a police cell. So I can relate to how were emotions, and when you react to something, and how easy it is to go down that road of self-destruct when you haven't got anybody. I mean, I'm saying when you haven't got anybody guiding you. I had my father, I had my brother saying, "Look, it'll be all right." And you know, when you're going in that hurt, and when you're feeling how you feel, it's just words by people. You know, they try to help you, and the thing but you just don't. Yeah, listen, don't go there, don't get in the car with that. It's just causing you more pain. All right, I won't. And like a love-struck puppy, you know, you're back there, and inevitably it went absolutely terribly wrong. You know, and so I can relate to that. But that Mac to the Mac now it's you know, it's night and day, absolutely night and day. We're very, very, very rarely argue, because it's just it doesn't serve her. I get nothing from it, absolutely nothing. And like I say, if it's an argument, it's generally something that I'm perceiving, and it's just my perception of it. It's my hang up. So I kind of step back from things now. Instead of reacting, I think, well, why is that bothering me, or why is it not bothering her? You know, and we kind of look that way, and we'll always communicate. And we've said, when I first met Katrina, I mean, I knew her for a lot of years. She was about 14 years younger than me. You can put a round of applause in there, Zach.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Shall I repeat that? Do you think they do? So yeah, she always says at the very start, listen, the worst thing you can do is if something's bothering you, rather than get to the stage of an argument, because that's what things do. You know, you bottle things up and it eats away at you, and then as you jump into your monkey mind and you just start creating all manners of crap. She's always says, listen, we'll just talk. If someone's bothering, we'll just out in the open, we'll just talk about it and work through things. And that's what we've always done, you know. So, you know, been together about 6 years.
Thanks for sharing, you know, the story about your previous relationship there. And one of the things I'm just kind of curious about, because I know that I know a lot of us guys and women too, for sure. You know, the whole jealousy part, and like especially like with affairs or like other people coming in. I've definitely been on both sides of it. I think a lot of us have been on both sides of it. You know, as you went through and experienced that type of pain and anger and responsiveness to that particular situation, is there anything that like that you've learned, like how, like if it were to happen again, let's say, let's just, you know, like throw out there like the hypothetical, how, as the man you are today, how do you envision your current self responding to something like that?
Well, I certainly wouldn't put up the walls that I put up, because that's where natural knee-jerk reaction. I've been hurt, I'm not going to get hurt again. And what you kind of do is you start looking for people or a relationship to, is this person going to hurt us? And you start getting ideas before you even get into the relationship. Do you know what I mean? So the way I look at it now, and I mean, and this me and Katrina as well. If it was to happen, then it's an experience. It's a lesson. It's, you know, it's just something to grow from. It just wasn't meant to be. it doesn't serve us in any way as getting bent out of shape. I mean, me and Katrina's got a beautiful 4-year-old daughter and 11-year-old laddie, and it wouldn't help the kids. It's just, we're just not, for whatever reason, it's played out. We've had 6 great years together. I mean, yes, it's going to sting. I'm not going to sit here like, and say, all right, well, this wouldn't be the case, but I know that going down the other road, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. All it does is you start building up these walls to protect yourself from pain and hurt. Well, that's just your choice. You just choose. You can look at it and just say, right, boy, go ahead. Didn't work. Next. It's just, there'll be somebody else there that will want us or appreciate us for who I am. I love myself. If you don't love me anymore, I'm not going to force you. I mean, and I've done this myself as well. You kind of look and think, well, if you find out that, say, your partner is unhappy, and I've got some friends that their partners have actually cheated on them, and they still have them back because they cannot be without them. It's like that thing, you've got to hold on to love, and it's like you grasp on, you get something, and it's the attachment. It's the, you have to have it, and that's where it's damaging. I think it's so damaging, because how's it helping you? Because you just you put up with things, and then I think this is where you get these, like I say, the crimes of passion, where it just keeps building and building and gaining more and more momentum until one day the person just snaps, instead of just letting it go. I think my dad used to say, plenty of fish in the sea, son. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Absolutely. So there's 2 things that came up for me during that piece where you were just talking. So one is that what what type of, like, I think, some other guys were to hear that and be like, oh, it just wasn't meant to be, like they still might have their anger, and it might be hard for them to let that pass through them, or to let that go, and just kind of be like, yeah, but be like, she cheated
Pride.
on me, or, yeah, right.
Pride and ego.
Yeah. So I guess, like, to kind of speak to that for anybody that might be listening that's experiencing that, what was like the most helpful for you to, like, work through that piece? Because I think we've all, especially as men, and again women, that have felt that, where it's kind of like intellectually we know, like, yeah, to let that go, and there's more fish in the sea, but God damn it, we're hurt. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
I mean, for me personally, is that my big thing was me kids. I just
yeah.
focused on me kids. Once I seen me kids were hurting, my stuff was neither here nor there. I just thought, right, pick yourself up, stop being a dipshit, for want of a better word. Your kids are hurting, and then I focused on me kids. I was just there for me kids. I thought, and that really, for me personally, got me through it. And I mean, if you haven't got kids, I'm sure there's a lot of people that might be listening have got a really close friend, and it's when you're in it, in that moment, it just seems like you're never going to meet anybody else. You don't want to meet anybody else. It's like you say, your pride's hurt, your ego's been pricked. How dare she do this, or how dare you do that to me? It's their loss. It's their loss. Love yourself. Love yourself, and it'll come back at you tenfold.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, the other piece that came up for me was the attachment, right? And just holding on, and yeah, like, through just a lot of the different books or teachers that I've come through, like, the Buddha says, right, all suffering comes from attachment, right?
Yeah.
And I guess, like, to just speak into that a little bit, there's a couple things that I just kind of want to talk to, if I may, like, about um, just learning that that love, right? Like, real love doesn't have expectations of somebody. I think a lot of us, as we get into relationships, we have expectations that come from, like as you were speaking to before, our conditioning that either from our parents or TV or music or just our culture. Like we're just programmed to that relationships need to look a certain way, and that our partners need to show up a certain way, and not just let that person be who they are. Like we don't do that. Like we have this idea, this image of who they are or who they should be, and once that person isn't that, then we're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you not this way, right? And so that's like where we run into that, like we feel alienated, or like we run into that, it kind of slaps us in the face. And so then we want to like kind of force a square peg into a round hole and be like, you need to be this way, right? And we see it, I think a lot of us, as like that person's hurting us, and we don't really take responsibility again for like how we're trying to force somebody to be something that they're not, because of our expectations. We have these demands on people, so we have our attachments to our expectations, right? And we want them, because of that attachment, we feel like it's the other person's fault, instead of being like, instead of looking at ourselves and being like, shit, I'm going to this person who is their own free individual and wanting them to be a certain way, and not seeing it as actually kind of a selfish thing. And these are lessons I've had to totally learn. I mean, like this has impacted my relationship with my mom and my sisters, and like, like friends and things like that, because I've wanted my mom to be a certain way. And then it's taken me some time to be like, shit, like I'm not letting my mom just be who she is, and like, if we flip it around, like we don't want other people like to do that to us. And like, even if they do, we don't care, because we're who we are. And if they don't like it, then it's kind of like, that's how shit goes down. It's just like, well, I mean, like, look, I know that may be what you want, but that's not how it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so we've got to take responsibility for our own interpretations of like how we want and expect others to be. So.
And I think where you normally find the very beginnings of that is when you come across words like, or give and take.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why should you have to give and take? That's kind of given excuse or reason for you to change for me, and I'll change for you.
Yes.
And that's where we, you have to have give and take in a relationship. And no, you don't. You don't. If you are just you and I'm me, then you love me for me, and I love you for you, and we'll have mutual respect. And I mean, I know there might be some people that listen, in a perfect world and that, but is that not what we're trying to achieve? You just want to achieve happiness, and that's what I've learned. I'm, like I say, I'm nearly 50, and I'm too old for the drama.
Yeah, that reminds me too of something that I really loved from the book Awareness by Anthony DeMello, where early on in the book, you were talking earlier about happiness. You're like, I just wake up and I'm just trying to be happy, and so he writes about, regarding relationships. He's like, yeah, I was having a conversation with this woman, and it got to be like, would you want me to sacrifice my happiness, to love you? And she was like, yes. And he's like, isn't that fabulous that she would want me to sacrifice my happiness for her love, and she would sacrifice her happiness for her love? Like, and he's like, so what, in the end, really what you got are two unhappy people, but long live love,
Yeah. But again, Zach, it's all because of things that we hear. It's madness, really, when you step back and think about it. I mean, it's just, for example, see, I was to go into a seminar, 1,000 people there, all were kids, and I'll say to people, right, put your hand up if you die for your kids. I bet you 1,000 people would put their hands up. Mm-hmm. Now, you only put your hands up because you've heard somebody say in the past that I would do anything for my kids, I would die for my kids. Well, how's about living for your kids? So you've just given me carte blanche to go with a submachine gun and shoot you all, because you're all quite happy to die for your kids. I didn't give you a reason for why. I didn't give any, like, reason for us saying that to you. You just automatically shut your hands up because that's what you've heard in the past. And that's what we do with relationships. That's what we do the best we can with the tools we're given. And unless you're willing to maybe change or learn something, and that was one of the biggest things that I learned, come with an empty cup. That's one of the greatest bits of advice, because when you know it all, you learn nothing. And I look at anything from the homeless guy on the street to the multi-millionaire. I learn from everybody in all walks of life. I try not to, and it is difficult, as you know. Jim hasn't been with DX for 25 years for nothing. It's a continuous learning curve, and you slip back, you pick yourself up, and you get back on the horse. But you're constantly learning from people. But if you have them walls up and that arrogance, or that well, I know it all, and I've been there, I've did this. Like, no. You have to just, and I try not to attach or have beliefs now. I just try to let things come, and I take the best from. I mean, I'm like Mr. Smith in my work. When something happens, I'll look at it from my perspective. I look at it from their perspective, and then I'm looking at it from 5, and it's exhausting half the time because I'm looking at things from all different angles, and that's kind of what I do now. But you've got to just have an empty cup. Have an empty cup. If you do that, if you wake up every morning with a smile, yesterday is finished, it's gone. Can I get that back? Live for today. Live for today. And chase happiness, not money, because money will always run fast on you.
That's true. Yeah. That reminds me of a quote that I really like too, is that no amount of shame or guilt can change the past, and no amount of worry or anxiety can shape the future. So it's all about the now. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I hope the people that are listening, or I mean, this is what I love about this type of thing, that people will kind of stop and look and reflect, and that's what I do with when I watch yourself and all your things that you've put up. It makes me think and look within myself and think, well, how would I react with that, and or would I have the courage to do that, and there's a lot of the stuff you do that hand on heart, I would say, no, I wouldn't. Not as of yet, but I'm trying real hard.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I think we maybe want to wrap it up just for the sake of the time for everybody. But I definitely. I mean, we could keep talking forever, man. I love talking
subject.
to you. Yeah, I love talking to you, and I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today, for sure, man. So
it's been an honor.
Yeah. So yeah, like do you have any like social media or podcasts or anything, if anybody wanted to follow you, or or I didn't know if there's any that kind of stuff?
Yeah, well, I've got me Underdog GSD, which is Underdog Get Shit Done.
Nice.
That's what it was. And I mean, when I started that, again, it was just to help people to chase their happiness, and it took on so many meanings, and it's changed since I've been on this journey, and it was kind of like, I used to consider myself an underdog, and I thought, well, no, you're only an underdog if you consider yourself. And I've actually got the slogan on my hoodies there, the Underdog GSD, only you can hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. I'm busy doing a load of other things, but as well as work, I'm kind of doing which I would probably get wrong off Jim and Adam and all the rest of them, because I'm spinning my wheels and procrastinating, and I'm so busy and I actually get nothing done. So yeah, but I mean, I work. My actual job is my finite job, if you like, is I work with kids in care. So I manage a few teams looking after the kids for a guy that I helped set his company up, because he just seen the way the industry was run and the way that it runs with the government, and because we're in that work for another company, he just says we can do this better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we're doing. And I come over and I'm managing for him now, but it's not my dom. It's his dream.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. No, I appreciate it. Well, thanks, Mac. Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope your listeners enjoyed it.
All right. So your knockout punch for today, gentlemen, is that even though we may not, as men, truly want to embrace this or even consider this to be a truth, but I'm going to invite you to stop and consider it, because what's the downside? What do you have to lose? Is to just take a moment and think and consider that we may have to change a little bit. It's not saying that we're wrong, okay? Changing doesn't mean we're wrong. And it's not about having somebody say that you're dumb or any shit like that. It's just about taking a moment, approaching what we would consider to be a problem, one that we haven't been able to successfully solve, or at least in a way that we find fulfilling, and just looking at it in a different way. So I invite you to do that, because Max said through the interview that that's one of the things he had to learn first, to stop, look at himself, and find out a different way of being. So I invite you to do the same. That's your knockout punch for today. All right, that wraps up today's episode of The Real Zack Olinger. Thanks again for listening. If you happen to find this episode insightful or valuable, I invite you to pass it along to somebody else, because chances are, if you found it valuable, they will too. If you're on Instagram, you can find me at The Real Zack Olinger. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for listening.